Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the Power App's personal barcode scanner app for events. Now, this is for those scenarios where you do attend conferences and they give you one of those personal ID badges which has the QR code in it. Now, what the QR code is used for is that every time you're in an expo hall, you attend any of the booths, the owners or the organizers of the booths will actually go and scan the QR code, and that's how they got their contact information. Well, this is the same thing that I use by building my own app, because let's face it, if I don't use this type of technology, I have to switch business cards, or worst case scenario, I might even have to write down their contact information. I don't have to do that anymore, thanks to this Power App scenario that I'm going to walk you through. So stick around, because this is really useful and helpful. But first, here's my intro video. So let's get started. And before we go into the Canvas Studio and see how the app works, I actually want to demonstrate the app to you so you actually see that in use. So let's go take a look. All right, so here we are in my Power Apps mobile app, and I'm going to click on the Event QR Code Scanner app. And as I click on it, the app opens up. Now, this is something that I do prior to the event, is I go ahead and actually scan that QR code only so I can understand how the delimiter works. That is, how are they separating all that text. So for that, I actually click on the test button, which you see on the bottom left. So I click on the test button, and then now I'm going to go ahead and scan it. It goes ahead and scans. And as I view it, I can immediately understand what the delimiter is like. And this is basically a new line delimiter. As you can see how the V card on the top, then there's version, then there's name, there's title. All of those are starting on a new line. There is no other delimiter for that. So now that I know what it is, on the top in the drop down, I can actually select that, okay, this is a new line. And then now I'm going to go and scan the QR. And I go and scan it again. And this is what happens. So you see on the top, there's actually a gallery, and right below it is a form. So on the top left, I'm actually going to go swing the gallery to the left. It's like, oh yeah, that Daniel Christian over there, that's actually a first name. So the drop down below it, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to put on full name. And the moment I do that, the full name gets filled up over there. Then as I keep scrolling to the left, I said, oh, there's the title, which I'm going to select that. That's the job title. And as you can see, it's all getting populated. As I keep going through, it actually is getting populated. So on and so forth, I can go and select all of them there, and then I can click on the save button. It'll do a trust but verify. I'll click on save, and this is how it goes through. Now, I also want to show you what if the QR code changes. Click on the test again, and I'll go and scan it. And as you can see, this has completely changed. This is no longer a new line, but it actually looks like is a semicolon separator. And so what I got to do for that is now on the top, I can click on that and I select the semicolon drop down. Now I can do the QR code scanner, and as I do the QR code scanner, it is able to now split all of the data perfectly on the gallery on the top. And then there I can go and actually select all this information. So I can now go, okay, that looks like a full name, so I'll select the full name. This one actually looks like the email address. I'll go and select the email address. So you basically get an idea that this is how the app works, and I try to make it as smart as possible, specifically by me getting the option to pick what the delimiter is going to be and do a test before the event starts. So this is how the app works. Now let's go and take a look at how all these controls and all these formulas work. So now let's spend the remaining amount of time deep diving in how this app works. So the first thing you actually see is that I have 3 screens. Now, all the work is actually happening in the main screen. The demo that I just did, it's all happening in the main screen. This business card scanner, that's my backup plan, because hey, the event doesn't actually have a QR code that gives me something that I can use a delimiter and get the data. But then if it's got one of those wacky type of code information that comes in, then I'll just use a business card scanner. And my business card scanner is pretty simple. What it has is basically the card scanner button on the top. And then when I select that, all the data gets populated into this form, and I go and save that. In fact, from here to here, it's very similar to the demo I'm just going to show you. But this was the quick one. It is basically to go ahead and actually come up as a backup plan. And then over here is my temp screen. The temp screen basically is just to go ahead and actually get my design, which I use across the different apps. That's all my temp screen is. So the sake of this video and this demonstration, this is the main screen that we'll be focusing on right over here. Next, let's go and take a look at the app OnStart. So I click on the app, and then right over here, I actually go to the OnStart, and this is what it looks like. So what I have is actually have a variable, the var pop-up variable. And if you already noticed me, and I do that in a bunch of my videos, all the apps that I build, is that the whole trust but verify at the end, This is where I do that, is when somebody clicks on enter or submit, a pop-up comes that, hey, are you sure? Well, that pop-up and making it visible or invisible is done using this variable. So that's basically what I put over there. I start the variable, give it a value. Now this collection over here, I made a clear collection, and this is what I use to basically make sure that when we have the gallery coming in and there's data coming in is, okay, this data that came in, is it a full name? Is it an email address? Like what is coming in from that drop down in the gallery? This is where that data comes in. Now I put that in the clear collect. You could pull that data from somewhere else over there. That's completely up to you. The point is I need this because I'm going to be putting it in a drop down column over here, right? So this is basically my app OnStart. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now let's dive into this main screen, the main screen that we have. So as I go and open up the main screen, you can see that I'm using a lot of containers. So you already guessed it, I've actually gone and made this responsive because I have used it as a mobile app, but depending on which device I open up and if it's a tablet or actually a smartphone, this will be responsive. So as I see, if you've seen again this in a lot of my videos, plus that whole responsive design, I think a 4-part series that I've done, I have actually walked you through that. So this is one of it. I'm going to open that up. I've got this main group, which is basically that pop-up group. But then I've got this container, and inside that container, I've got 3 other sub-containers. So the header container, that's where the top header comes in. Then there's the footer container. This is where the footer comes in. And then the middle container, well, that's where you go and spend a lot more time. In the middle container also, I've actually got this vertical container coming in. And inside the vertical container, I've got 3 other sections. So basically, that's how I'm able to break it down right over there. All right. So what I want to first spend time is the test one that we did. So if I click on that test button, we first of all see that it's in the footer container, but this is the QR code scanner. And to get that, I click on insert, I click on media, and right over there is the barcode scanner. That is the component or the control that I'm using, right? So when I go and get it over here, I click on it, and that's how it works. Now, if you notice on these properties that I have, I've left the barcode type as automatic. That way I can let the app make more smart decisions for you. So I've left that as the automate over here. Next is when I go ahead and do it's on scan, I am going ahead and now setting a scan type of text. And then I also go ahead and put in the pop-up view as true. Basically, I just want to make sure that I can see the data. So how do I actually see the data? So where do I actually see the data? Well, that actually comes in the middle container, and it's the middle container on the bottom. So when I click on the middle container over here, this is where you're able to see that the data is actually showing inside this label over here. And so what I'm going to do is now, for the sake of this review, I'm going to come in and I'll actually go ahead and make this visible at all times so you can actually see what that looks like. So basically, here is a button if I want to go and cancel that drop down, but all the data is actually shown in this text column. And there you go. When it is a test, show me the barcode scanner, this test barcode scanner value. But if it is a prod, again, display it over here, but show it to me from the barcode scanner. In short, if I click on this button, I want to see the data over here. If I see that button, I want to see the data in the gallery. It's just basically the same places, just to make sure that based on which button that I'm selecting, I should be able to see the correct data. That's all that is that if function is just doing that. I'm basically making it scan var scan type. I call this one as the test. I call that main one as the production. And then it just shows me the data over there, and it works. But this is that first example that I showed you, is that when I wanted to actually, prior to the event, see what the delimiter is, this is what I'm clicking. I'm clicking on this button, once again as a recap, and it's on scan property. I go ahead and set the variable, and I do the pop-up. The pop-up basically allows me this section. This section becomes visible, and when I see the visible, I'm actually able to see the data. So now let's spend the time on how this entire section is working. So first, let me just come back over here, and I'm going to go ahead and make this one back to its original design. All right, so we go over here. Now, when I first come in over here, this is where I go and select what the delimiter is. Now again, this delimiter is just a simple drop-down control, nothing fancy. And I went and actually added the items right over here as well. A couple of tidbits that I do is when you're adding these items, just make sure the first one is blank. That way it actually looks that way. Because if you don't leave it as blank, you will always have a default value selected, which may help, but may not help. Also, this is something that I came up with. In your scenario, because let's face it, you might actually use this technology for something else. It doesn't have to be an event QR code scanner. You could use this for your inventory scanner. You could use this for your assets, whatever. This is basically the whole technology though, is you design what your delimiter is going to be, and then this is where you put it so you can actually select it. The ones I put over here are the most common ones. All right, so now that I've selected this one, I actually go in prior to I hit the button, I got to select the drop down. Next, I actually go and click on this one. In its on scan, you basically see that I go in and actually set up now what is the scan type value. But next, this is where all the magic happens, because now I have to do an if function. Like, what is that delimiter, that separator that you used? And then based on that separator, I need to go ahead and split this data that's coming in. And once I split it, I need to go and do a clear collection. So let's just think about that for a minute, okay? The if function, that's the big one on the top, the parent if function. If function is going to first say, hey, which one of these drop downs did you select? Because if I went ahead and selected, say, this one, new line, if I selected that, then when I go and click on the button, this first line of the if function takes place. Like I said, that if function, it was a new line, which means that every single data that's coming in from the QR code, what it returns back, is going to be on a new line. Therefore, the split function is going to be the value that comes in, and then it puts in the character 10. Character 10 or char 10 is forcing it for being on the new line. If a new line comes in, that's one piece of the data. If another new line comes in, that's one piece of the data. That's how I'm getting the split function. This will go ahead and split each value into an item inside the collection. See the beauty of how this is working? Because I've got actually inside the if, I've got a clear collect, and the clear collect is collecting all the value inside the split functions, like 3 levels deep, but it works so beautifully over here. And guess what? When I click on it, I got no squiggly lines or whatever. There is no delegation issues over here. It works so well. Again, remember that this is the formula. Inside the if, I got a clear collect. Inside the clear collect, I'm using a split value. So I've already noticed now that now if I were to come back over here and in the new line, if I went and selected the semicolon, you know, the second scenario that we did, well, if it is a semicolon, well, in that case, the split function will use the semicolon. Same thing, if it was a comma, they went to use that. If it was a colon, they went and used that. The key big one was actually the new line. For new line, there was actually just not a delimiter. It was actually the char or the CHR 10. That is the delimiter for the new line. So this is a very important part of this formula over here. So let's actually take a look at how this gallery looks. So when I come to this gallery, by default, it's actually in the view is hidden. The view or the visible is actually a pretty smart one. Remember when we did that split function, we are saving it into this collection. I am using the gallery's view saying that, hey, if the count rows of that collection is greater than 0, only then you want to go and make that visible. I'm just trying to make this app look a little nicer, a little smarter, and therefore when if it's blank, go ahead and hide it. But if the total number of count is greater than 0, which most of the time it will if data is coming in, that's when you make it visible. But now I want to show you what's happening. So I'm actually going to comment this one out, and I'll just come in and put in as true. And so now you'll actually be able to see what is over here. So you can see there's a couple of things. This is first of all the entire gallery, right? That gallery has very simple things. It's got a drop down, it's got a trash icon, and then it's basically got the title. The title is the data that came in, all right? The data that came in through the split function in the clear collect. But here, this is the collection of fields. Well, that collection of fields, well, that one was on our app. See the app OnStart, the collection of fields, collection fields. This is it, full name, job title, email address. This is where I went and created the collection, and that is the collection that I'm going in and storing it over here. Again, a very important piece. The trash can is basically, as you selected, it will use the remove function to remove this item of the collection. I'm just making the end user, which basically is me, but I'm also helping it to you, to understand a little bit and make it easier, because there might just be too much data coming in and I may have to constantly keep scrolling. So any of the data that doesn't apply to me, I can just go ahead and remove it. That is deleted by clicking on the trash can. All right, so now you understood this gallery, but let's think about what's going to happen. In the gallery, the data is going to come through, and when I click on the data, I'll be selecting for this item of the gallery, it's a first name. For this item of the gallery, that's a job title. Well, how is that selection populating my form below? Because there are multiple items in the gallery on the top, but there's only one form below. Granted, the form can have multiple cards, but how is that relationship working? Also, if you notice that in the gallery over here, I have the option to do multiple selections in any order, but it should still have that same card in the form selected. So the math is actually pretty simple over here, and I'll show you how that works. Because right over here inside the form, this is where all the magic happens. So I'm going to come in, let me open up, scroll up the form a little bit, and I'm going to expand that form. And let's actually go and make that form also visible, because I went and used the exact same formula over here, right? So I'll actually come in and I'll go ahead and make this form again a little bigger. and I'll commented out the if function, and now I went and just showed the form, okay? So the first thing, as you can see, is I went ahead and got my form with all the correct fields I want, the main data that I want to gather for my contact information. In your scenario, it could be completely different. Just make sure that you are using an edit form for that. In your insert in this ribbon, you can select the edit form, and then you make sure that all the data is coming in from your data source. All right, so now what I want to do is right over here on the full name. In the full name in this card, I want to specifically go to the data card value. I want to look at the default. Now, the moment you see one of them, all the other ones are the exact same. So I want to spend some little bit of time over here. Now let's take a look at the formula. The formula is basically saying that I want to filter all the items in the gallery and make sure I only get anything that has to do with the full name. Well, that sounds a little complicated, but it's actually really simple. What I am saying is that in your top gallery, if you've got any of these items, basically any of this drop down, if you selected the full name right over here, if you went and selected full name, then that value, whatever is in this item of that gallery, that will get filled up over here. That's what this formula means. It basically says that in the entire gallery, if you went ahead and selected this one drop down as name, then just go ahead and get that filtered item and go ahead and put it over here as the default value. That's basically what it works. So next, if you've noticed that in the job title, same thing. I went and now said that, hey, if this item over here, if its selected value is say job title, then go ahead and filter the entire item and just get the first one from it and populate it over here. That way the beauty is that I don't really care where the first item or where the gallery is, anywhere in the gallery. Moment I go to that section of the gallery, that item of the gallery, and I select it as say the job title or the first name or the address, I'll always get that one and it'll always populate it in the correct place because each of them are looking for a very specific thing. It'll go and do a filter and then it'll go and grab the first one, and the first one being the email address, the job, and goes and populates it over here. It works so well. I don't have any squiggly lines over there. I don't have any delegation problems. And that's basically how it worked, is I was able to get the gallery where multiple items are coming in, but it always populates just this one form. So I don't have to actually build a full relationship or anything. I just base the filtering on the form attached to the gallery, and it works really well. The only last thing that I have is in this event. Well, the event is actually a choice tab column where the user will have to manually go and select which event it is. And to better understand that, we just take a quick look at the backend SharePoint list. So this is where I'm actually saving all my information. As you can see, granted, not all the data comes clean. So you will have to do either some cleanup over here manually, or maybe you can put a float to it, or maybe you can do a post scanning, something that you can do to at least clean the data. But hey, you get the data. And what happens is the other piece that I showed on is in the list settings. In the list settings, it's the event column. See, the event is a choice type column. When I click on the event choice type column, this is where I go ahead and add all the events ahead of time. So like, for example, the EduCon was over here, the SP Fest, the N365 collaborations conference. These are all the ones that I've attended. I've gone ahead and added them before I went and started using the app. So once I do that, in over here, after I've gone ahead and pre-populated all this one, this is the one place in this edit items I actually have to come over here and I have to select which of this event that is. And then the moment I do that, I'll come now next to save. The save is a pop-up, and you've always seen me do this. Basically, I've gone ahead and added a value to that variable. When that value to the variable is assigned, after I do an onSelect, the secondary, hey, the trust but verified. Remember, I've always used that in all my apps, that it's asking you one more time, hey, are you sure? And I always like to do this is I give the background a little bit of a transparency so you can actually see what the data is. That way you can actually confirm. But in the yes button, all I have is the submit form. That's it, because the form is actually pre-populated, and I just go and do a submit. I do a reset of the form, and then I go and set the value to false, which means this pop-up will go ahead and actually disappear. The last thing that I want to talk about this edit form is that the one thing, if you already are guessed, is when the form is come in, for each of these fields, you will have to go to the advanced and you will have to unlock them. That is how I was able to first unlock it and then add my custom data in the default. So for each of them, you will have to unlock it, and that's basically how this works, to grab the data and save it to SharePoint or any backend data source that you want. Now, the last thing I do want to talk about is what if this scenario just doesn't work? The QR code does not have the delimiter that we can use. Well, what do I do then? Well, then you go to your plan B, which is use the business card scanner. And that's why I went and put this image. It looks like actually a business card scanner. When I select it, it navigates to a different screen. And so when I go over here, this is basically what that business card scanner looks like right over here. And the business card scanner, I went and actually made the same responsive design, but right over here is actually what I've got the business card scanner control, which is right over here in the AI on the insert menu on this ribbon that's under AI Builder. Under AI Builder, I've got the business card reader. Now, a lot of similarity is over here too. If you notice, the form has pretty much the same fields. Why? Because it's the same backend SharePoint list. And I've had to do the exact same thing. Is for each of the cards, I actually came in and then I went to the advanced and I did unlock it. Over here, the formula was very simple. Is that the business card reader dot full name. And there is a bunch of options over here. Just to show that, I came and deleted a little bit of the formula. I click on this and now you can see these are all the out of the box ones that are available. So kind of use your caution on this one, because sometimes you may not get the street name or the address or things like that. Just go and get the entire postal address. You will have to do a little bit of playing around over here to get the actual information that you want. So therefore, I will share some tips over here. I've got the full name, I've got the job title, I've got the email address. This address, I go and use the full address, because you can go street, you can go city, you can go and get the zip code, you can go down at that level. I just went and grabbed the full address. That makes it that means I don't miss anything. I always have all of that. And then the same thing goes over here. Phone number, go and grab the phone number. Go ahead and grab actually any company name that I can go and get this company name over there. And then the final piece is the exact same thing. You will have to select from your drop down what the event is. And then I go and basically save it, and it goes and gets stored in the backend data source. So hopefully you get an overview of how this app works. And I know we covered a ton. Some of those formulas you kind of have to mix and match to get the data that we want. And I completely understand that the data is not 100% clean. You have to do a little post-processing clean, but hey, at least you have the data. And remember, I use this for a business card scanner. You could use this for any QR code scanning need that you may have, either inventory or some kind of asset management. The options are limitless. So hopefully this was helpful to you. And as always, keep using Power Apps. Hey everyone, hopefully you found this video useful. And if you did, can you help me help you? Can you subscribe to this YouTube channel? Because remember, I provide fresh content on a weekly basis and it's 100% free. So if you have subscribed, thank you so much and pass the word. But if you haven't, subscribe, click on the bell notification and let the learning begin.